The space around Earth was quiet that Tuesday morning when everything changed forever. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair at the Deep Space Monitoring Station, drinking his third cup of coffee and watching the green dots move slowly across his screen. The job was usually boring. Most days, nothing happened except for some space junk floating by or a communication satellite going off course. Jake had been doing this job for 8 years. He was good at it because he paid attention to details that other people missed. His wife always said he noticed things that nobody else saw. She was right. That morning, Jake saw something that made him stop drinking his coffee and lean forward in his chair. 3 new dots appeared on his screen. They were moving fast, much faster than anything humans had ever built. The dots were also bigger than normal satellites. Jake checked his equipment twice to make sure it was working correctly. The dots were still there, and they were getting closer to Earth. Jake pressed the red button on his desk that connected him to Earth Defense Force headquarters. A voice answered immediately. "This is Control. What do you have, Morrison?" 3 unknown objects approaching Earth from Sector 7. They're moving at incredible speed. Size estimates suggest they're much larger than any known spacecraft. The voice on the other end became serious. "Are you certain of your readings?" "Positive. These are not human ships. They're not like anything in our database." Within minutes, the quiet monitoring station became the center of the biggest emergency in human history. Jake's screen filled with new information as defense stations all over the world started tracking the incoming objects. The mysterious ships were slowing down as they got closer to Earth, but they were still moving faster than any human technology could match. High Commander Vexstar stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the small blue planet through the viewing screen. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. His uniform showed that he had conquered many worlds for the Zephyrian Empire. This was supposed to be conquest number 48. "Begin the standard approach," Vexstar told his crew. "Send the surrender demand to the planet's surface. Tell them they have 1 hour to submit to the Empire or face destruction." The Zephyrian communication officer sent the message to Earth. It was the same message they had sent to every other world they had conquered. The message was simple: surrender now or be destroyed. No other species had ever chosen to fight back. The Zephyrians expected the humans to surrender just like all the others. But something was different this time. Dr. Lisa Brooks worked at the International Space Research Center in California. She was one of the smartest people on Earth when it came to studying space and alien life. When the alien message arrived, she was the first person to analyze it. Lisa sat in her laboratory, looking at the strange symbols and sounds that made up the alien communication. She had spent her whole career hoping to find proof that life existed somewhere else in the universe. Now, that proof was here, but it was not the friendly greeting she had always imagined. "The message is definitely from an intelligent species," Lisa told her team. "But there's something strange about how they communicate. It's not just words or symbols. There's something else mixed in with the message." She worked for hours, breaking down every part of the alien transmission. What she discovered made her heart race with excitement and fear at the same time. "They're using some kind of mental broadcasting," she explained to her supervisor. "The message isn't just heard, it's felt. They're trying to make us afraid, so we'll surrender without fighting." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Commander Ryan Davis was preparing his squadron for the impossible. Ryan was a fighter pilot with 15 years of experience. He had flown in conflicts all over the world, but he had never faced anything like this. "Listen. Up, everyone," Ryan told his pilots as they suited up for launch. "We don't know what these aliens can do, but we know what we can do. We've trained for this our whole careers. We're going to show them that humans don't give up without a fight." The other pilots looked nervous, but they trusted Ryan. He had never led them into a battle they couldn't win. This time was different. But Ryan didn't let that show on his face. The first meeting between human and alien forces happened in the space between Earth and the Moon. 3 Zephyrian scout ships moved toward Earth, expecting to find a clear path to the planet's surface. Instead, they found 12 human fighter jets waiting for them. The alien pilots were confused. According to their information, humans were a primitive species with limited technology. These ships shouldn't exist. The Zephyrians had fought 47 wars of conquest, and no species had ever met them in space with military ships. Ryan led his squadron in an attack pattern that no alien had ever seen before. Instead of flying straight at the enemy ships like the Zephyrians expected, the human pilots split up and attacked from 6 different directions at once. When the aliens tried to follow one group of ships, another group attacked them from behind. The alien ships were faster and had better weapons, but they were not ready for the way humans fought. The Zephyrian pilots had been trained to fight in organized formations against enemies who followed predictable battle plans. The humans seemed to make no sense at all. Ryan's voice came over the radio to his pilots. "Remember, we're not trying to win this fight. We're trying to learn how they fight so we can beat them later. Hit them hard, then get out of there." The battle lasted only 10 minutes, but when it was over, something impossible had happened. The humans had actually damaged one of the alien ships before retreating back toward Earth. For the first time in the history of the Zephyrian Empire, a primitive species had drawn blood in the first battle. Commander Vextar stared at his damage reports in disbelief. His scouts had been hurt by creatures who should have been cowering in fear on their planet's surface. The humans had done something that no other species had ever managed to do. They had surprised the Zephyrians. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the command center of New Geneva, the largest space station orbiting Earth. Through the huge windows, she could see the alien ships gathering in the distance like dark clouds before a storm. Kate had spent 30 years in the Earth Defense Force, rising through the ranks during peacetime. Now she faced the greatest military challenge in human history. "How many ships do they have now?" Kate asked her intelligence officer. 200 and counting, Admiral. More arrive every hour. They're building up for a full invasion. Kate nodded calmly. She had studied every war in human history, from ancient battles with swords and shields to modern conflicts with advanced weapons. All of that knowledge was about to be tested against an enemy from another world. "Send word to all defense commanders," Kate ordered. "We're going to show these aliens how humans fight wars." The message went out across Earth's communication networks. In bases around the world, military leaders received their orders. This would not be like any war humans had fought before, but it would use every lesson they had learned from fighting each other for thousands of years. Colonel Ben Martinez commanded the orbital defense platform above North America. He was known throughout the military for his creative thinking and unusual tactics. When other officers followed the rules, Ben found new ways to win battles. "Sir, the aliens are moving into attack formation," his communications officer reported. Ben smiled. "Perfect. Activate Operation Chaos Theory." Operation Chaos Theory was Ben's idea. He had studied the alien attacks on other worlds and noticed a pattern. The Zephyrians always expected their enemies to act logically. They planned their battles around predictable responses. Ben decided to do something that would confuse them completely. The human defense ships began moving in ways that made no sense. Some ships flew directly at the alien fleet, then suddenly turned away for no reason. Others attacked empty space, where no enemy ships were located. A few ships started spinning in circles while firing their weapons randomly. The Zephyrian commanders watched in confusion. Their battle computers could not understand what the humans were trying to do. Every time they predicted the next human move, the humans did something completely different. What is their strategy? Commander Vextar demanded from his flagship. "We cannot determine their battle plan, sir," his tactical officer replied. "Their movements appear random." This was exactly what Ben wanted. While the aliens tried to figure out what the humans were doing, Ben's real attack began. Hidden ships that had been waiting behind the moon suddenly appeared and struck the alien fleet from behind. The Zephyrians had been so focused on the confusing ships in front of them that they never saw the real attack coming. Dr. Amy Thompson had a different kind of battle to fight. She was a psychologist who studied how people think and behave. When the war began, she was asked to help find ways to defeat the aliens by understanding their minds. Amy worked with a team of scientists to study every piece of information they had about the Zephyrians. They watched recordings of the battles and listened to intercepted alien communications. What they found was very interesting. "The aliens think differently than we do," Amy explained to the military leaders. "They're like a group mind. Everyone thinks the same way and follows the same rules. They can't understand why someone would break the rules or act alone." Amy's team created something called the Human Doctrine. It was a guide that explained how to use human independence and creativity to confuse the aliens. The guide told military commanders to encourage their soldiers to make their own decisions instead of always following orders. Captain Steve Parker commanded a small stealth ship called the Defiance. Steve had grown up poor in Detroit and learned how to fix things with whatever materials he could find. The military had taught him to be a starship captain, but he still thought like someone who had to make old, broken things work again. Steve's mission was different from the other captains. Instead of fighting the alien warships, he was supposed to sneak behind enemy lines and cause trouble in their supply areas. "Remember, we're not trying to destroy their ships," Steve told his crew. "We're going to break them in ways they won't notice until it's too late." The Defiance slipped past the alien patrol ships and found the supply convoy that brought food, fuel, and spare parts to the invasion fleet. Instead of attacking the supply ships directly, Steve's team boarded them secretly and made small changes to the equipment. They loosened bolts that would come apart after a few days of vibration. They added chemicals to fuel that would cause engines to overheat slowly. They changed computer programs so that navigation systems would give wrong directions. After a certain amount of time, the aliens never noticed the sabotage. The changes were too small and too clever. But over the next few weeks, Zephyrian ships began having mysterious problems. Weapons would jam during important battles. Engines would break down when ships needed to escape. Communication systems would fail at the worst possible moments. The alien engineers could not understand what was happening. Their technology was supposed to be perfect. They had never dealt with equipment that had been deliberately sabotaged by someone who understood how to make machines fail in sneaky ways. Major Helen Carter led the most dangerous mission of the war so far. Helen was a Marine who specialized in boarding enemy ships during combat. She had trained for years to fight in the tight spaces inside spacecraft, but she had never tried to capture an alien vessel. "Our job is to get inside that command ship and steal their battle plans," Helen told her team. "The aliens have never had anyone board their ships during a fight. They won't know how to stop us." Helen's team used small boarding pods to break through the hull of a Zephyrian command vessel. The aliens inside were completely unprepared for human soldiers appearing in their corridors. The Zephyrians had security systems designed to prevent slave revolts on conquered worlds, but they had no defenses against trained fighters who attacked from outside. The human Marines moved through the alien ship like they owned it. They fought with a combination of careful planning and wild improvisation that the aliens had never seen before. When the aliens tried to trap them in one section of the ship, the humans cut through walls and attacked from unexpected directions. Within an hour, Helen's team had captured the ship's main computer core and downloaded thousands of files about Zephyrian fleet movements and invasion plans. More importantly, they had proven something that terrified the alien commanders. Human soldiers could board Zephyrian ships and win. When the battle reports reached Commander Vextar, he realized that his empire faced something it had never encountered before. The humans were not just resisting conquest. They were actually fighting back successfully against technology that should have been far superior to anything they possessed. For the first time in 1,000 years of expansion, the Zephyrian Empire was losing the war. Commander Alex Wright sat in a small room deep inside the captured alien ship, staring at information that changed everything he thought he knew about the enemy. Alex was an intelligence officer who spoke 6 languages and could break almost any code. The files that Major Helen Carter's team had stolen from the Zephyrian command ship told a story that amazed him. They haven't changed anything in over 1,000 years, Alex told Admiral Sullivan over the secure communication link. Their ships, their weapons, their battle tactics, even their uniforms are exactly the same as they were when they started. Conquering other worlds. Alex studied screen after screen of alien data. The Zephyrians had perfected their invasion methods by attacking worlds where the people lived the same way for thousands of years without change. Every species they conquered had the same weakness. They could not adapt quickly when faced with new problems. But we're different, Alex continued. We change constantly. We improve our weapons, we create new tactics, we learn from every mistake. They don't know how to fight an enemy that gets stronger during the war. The information Alex discovered was sent to every human military commander. For the first time since the war began, the humans understood why they were winning battles against superior technology. The aliens were like a perfect machine that could only work in one specific way. Professor Monica Bell had spent her entire career studying alien technology, even though she had never seen any real alien equipment before the war. Now her laboratory was filled with broken pieces of Zephyrian ships and weapons. Monica was like a detective solving a puzzle, except the puzzle was made of metal and energy instead of clues and evidence. "Look at this," Monica said to her research team, holding up a piece of alien armor. "This material is incredibly strong, but only against certain types of damage. It's designed to stop energy weapons, but it's weak against physical impacts." Monica's team discovered that every piece of Zephyrian technology was highly specialized. Their shields could stop laser beams, but not bullets. Their sensors could detect large ships, but missed small fighter craft. Their weapons could destroy cities, but had trouble hitting fast-moving targets. They optimized everything for fighting enemies who used the same tactics over and over, Monica explained. But when we change our methods, their perfect technology becomes useless. The human engineers began modifying their weapons and ships based on Monica's research. They created new types of ammunition that could penetrate alien armor. They built small, fast ships that could avoid alien sensors. They developed tactics that turned the alien strengths into weaknesses. General Chris Johnson commanded the defense of Earth's moon bases when the aliens launched their biggest attack yet. Chris had learned about warfare by studying every major battle in human history. He knew that the most important thing in any war was not to have the best weapons, but to have the ability to keep fighting even when everything went wrong. "Activate the Hydra Protocol," Chris ordered when the alien attack began. The Hydra Protocol was named after a monster from ancient Greek stories that grew 2 new heads every time one was cut off. Chris had designed the human command structure to work the same way. If the aliens destroyed one command center, 3 more would immediately take its place. The Zephyrians had always won their wars by destroying the enemy's main headquarters in the first attack. When the leaders were gone, the remaining forces would surrender quickly. But when they destroyed Chris's main command post, they discovered something that had never happened before. Instead of collapsing, the human defense actually became stronger. Every backup command center had been given complete authority to make decisions without waiting for orders. Local commanders began coordinating with each other directly, creating a network that the aliens could not break. "Sir, they destroyed our command center on the moon," a communication officer reported to Chris at his backup location. "Good," Chris replied with a smile. "Now they think they've won, but we're just getting started." Engineer Tony Adams worked in a secret facility under the Rocky Mountains, trying to understand how alien technology worked. Tony had always been good at taking things apart and putting them back together in new ways. His workshop was filled with alien equipment that had been captured or shot down during battles. "I think I've figured out how their shields work," Tony told his team. "They create a barrier that pushes away anything that tries to get through. But what if we don't try to break the barrier?" Tony's idea was simple but brilliant. Instead of trying to destroy the alien shields, he would copy them and make them work for human ships. But Tony didn't just copy the alien technology exactly. He changed it to work better with human engineering and tactics. Within weeks, human ships were using shield technology that even the aliens had never seen before. Tony had taken their perfect shield system and made it work in ways they never imagined. Some human ships could now make their shields push outward to ram enemy vessels. Others could make their shields invisible to alien sensors. Captain Nina Foster commanded a spy ship that listened to alien communications from a safe distance. Nina had learned to speak several alien languages by studying their transmissions. What she heard in the recent messages worried her, but also gave her hope. "They're scared," Nina reported to headquarters. "The alien soldiers are talking about things that their race has never experienced before. They're having nightmares about human tactics. Some of them are asking to be sent home." The intercepted alien communications revealed something that no human had expected. The Zephyrians had always won their wars so quickly that their soldiers never experienced the stress of long battles. They had never dealt with the fear and exhaustion that came from fighting an enemy that refused to give up. "Listen to this." Nina played a recording of two alien pilots talking to each other. "They say fighting humans is like fighting ghosts. They can't predict what we'll do next, and it's making them afraid to engage in battle." The psychological impact of the war was breaking down the aliens' confidence. Their soldiers had been trained to fight against enemies who were afraid of them. Now they were the ones who were afraid, and they didn't know how to handle that feeling. Nina's intelligence reports showed that the alien fleet was having discipline problems. Some ships were refusing to follow orders that would put them in direct combat with human forces. Others were requesting to withdraw from the battle zone for equipment maintenance that they didn't really need. The perfect war machine of the Zephyrian Empire was starting to fall apart, not because they were losing battles, but because they were learning what it felt like to be in a war that they might not win. The humans were not just adapting to alien technology and tactics. They were teaching the aliens something that no species had ever taught them before: what it meant to be afraid. Dr. Kevin Stone had spent his whole career studying the human mind and how people behave in difficult situations. When the war started, Kevin was asked to figure out what made humans different from the aliens. What he discovered surprised everyone, including himself. Kevin worked in a research center that was hidden deep underground to protect it from alien attacks. His office was filled with reports about human soldiers, alien prisoners, and battle recordings from both sides. After months of study, Kevin finally understood why the humans were winning a war they should have lost. "It's not one thing that makes us special," Kevin explained to a meeting of military leaders. "It's how many different things work together. We're creative, we're stubborn, we bounce back from bad situations, and we can find something funny even when everything looks hopeless." Kevin showed the leaders examples of what he meant. Human soldiers who had been surrounded by alien forces spent their time telling jokes and playing card games. Human pilots who were badly outnumbered flew their ships while singing songs over the radio. Human engineers who faced impossible problems treated them like fun puzzles to solve. The aliens don't understand any of this, Kevin continued. They think logically about everything. When they see humans acting happy during a battle, they think we're either crazy or we have some secret weapon they don't know about. Lieutenant Colonel Sandra Price commanded the moon base that protected the space between Earth and the alien fleet. Sandra was known for never giving up, even when situations looked impossible. When her superiors told her to prepare for evacuation, Sandra had a different idea. "We're not leaving," Sandra told her officers. "We're going to show these aliens what humans do when we're cornered." The alien attack on the moon base was the largest assault they'd attempted since the war began. 200 alien ships surrounded the small human outpost. Every computer model said the base could not survive for more than a few hours. But Sandra did something that confused the aliens completely. Instead of trying to fight back with weapons, she ordered her communications team to broadcast human culture across all radio frequencies. The aliens found themselves listening to music, poetry, comedy shows, and educational programs about Earth's history. What is the purpose of these transmissions? The alien commander asked his intelligence officers. "We don't know, sir." They appeared to serve no military function. The alien assault forces were already nervous about fighting humans. Now they were receiving a constant stream of information about human art, literature, music, and humor. The aliens had never encountered a species that shared their culture during a battle. They began to wonder if the humans were trying to communicate something important. The attack slowed down as alien soldiers stopped fighting to listen to the strange broadcasts. Some aliens had never heard music before. Others were fascinated by human stories and jokes. The psychological impact was exactly what Sandra had hoped. 4. Captain Joe Harris commanded a small patrol ship when he was captured by an alien cruiser. Every other species the aliens had encountered either tried to escape or fought until they were killed. Joe did something completely different. "Hello," Joe said to his alien captors in their own language. "I'm Joe Harris from Earth. What are your names?" The aliens were completely unprepared for this response. They had protocols for dealing with prisoners who were afraid or angry, but they had no idea what to do with a prisoner who was friendly and curious. Joe spent his time in captivity, asking his guards questions about their homeworld, their families, and their culture. He shared stories about human life and taught them human games. The aliens had never met someone from a species they were trying to conquer who actually seemed interested in getting to know them as individuals. "Why aren't you afraid of us?" One of the alien guards asked Joe. "Why should I be afraid?" Joe replied, "You're just people from a different world. I'd like to learn about your world if you'll tell me about it." This conversation was recorded and eventually reached the highest levels of the alien command structure. The idea that humans might see aliens as potential friends instead of enemies was something the Zephyrians had never considered. Commander Rachel Green developed one of the most successful strategies of the entire war. Rachel realized that the aliens expected every piece of human equipment to have a clear military purpose. She decided to use this assumption against them. Human ships began carrying items that had no military value at all. Art supplies, musical instruments, sports equipment, and cooking materials were loaded onto warships alongside weapons and ammunition. When alien intelligence officers examined captured human vessels, they spent enormous amounts of time trying to figure out the strategic purpose of these items. "Sir, we found painting supplies on their command ship," an alien analyst reported. "We believe this may be some form of psychological warfare equipment. And these musical instruments?" Possibly a new type of communication device, or perhaps a weapon that uses sound waves. The aliens wasted valuable time and resources trying to decode the military applications of human hobbies and entertainment. Meanwhile, the real human weapons and strategies were working exactly as planned. Sergeant Danny Clark found himself in a situation that would become the most famous story of the entire war. Danny and his squad were trapped in a small outpost, surrounded by alien forces. They had enough ammunition for maybe 1 hour of fighting, and no chance of rescue. Instead of preparing for a desperate last battle, Danny pulled out a deck of cards. "Anyone want to play poker while we wait?" Danny asked his soldiers. The squad sat in a circle and began playing cards while alien weapons fired at their position. They bet with candy bars and personal belongings, laughed at each other's jokes, and acted like they were having a normal day instead of facing certain death. The aliens watching the outpost were completely confused. Their sensors showed that the humans were not preparing defenses or trying to escape. Instead, they appeared to be playing some kind of game and enjoying themselves. "What are they doing in there?" the alien commander demanded. "They appear to be relaxing, sir." Images of Danny's squad playing poker while under siege were broadcast across the galaxy. The sight of humans gambling and laughing while facing overwhelming odds became a symbol that other species talked about for years afterward. The aliens realized they were not just fighting an enemy with better tactics or technology. They were fighting a species that refused to accept defeat, even when defeat was certain. The humans had something the aliens could not understand and could not defeat: hope that never died, no matter how bad things looked. This was the moment when High Commander Vextar began to understand that his empire might not win this war. High Commander Vextar stood alone on the bridge of his flagship, looking out at the stars. For the first time in his long military career, he faced a situation that his training had never prepared him for. The Zephyrian Empire had been fighting humans for almost a year, and they were no closer to victory than when the war began. Vextar had conquered 47 worlds without ever losing a single battle. Every species his empire had encountered had followed the same pattern. They fought briefly with their primitive weapons, realized they could not win, and surrendered. The humans were supposed to be just another primitive species, but everything about them was different. "Commander, our casualties are mounting," his second-in-command reported. "Many ships are requesting permission to withdraw for repairs. Morale among the fleet is at the lowest level we have ever recorded." Vextar closed his large black eyes and thought about what his empire had become. The Zephyrians had been conquering other worlds for so long that they had forgotten why they started. The war machine that had once brought them security now seemed to bring only endless conflict with an enemy they could not understand. Ambassador Patricia Young was chosen to represent humanity in the first formal peace talks with the alien empire. Patricia was a diplomat who had spent her career solving problems between different countries on Earth. She spoke 12 languages and had a gift for understanding how people from different cultures thought about the world. When Patricia's ship approached the alien flagship, she did something that no other species had ever done. Instead of arriving with military escorts and defensive shields, she came alone in a small, unarmed spacecraft. Her first message to the aliens was not a demand or a threat. "Hello," Patricia said in the Zephyrian language. "My name is Patricia Young. I come from Earth to learn about your people and to share information about mine. Would you be willing to talk with me?" The aliens were stunned. Every other species they had encountered sent negotiators who either begged for mercy or made angry demands. Patricia seemed genuinely interested in understanding the Zephyrian Empire, not just ending the war. When Patricia met Vextar face to face, she did something that amazed the alien commander. She asked him about his personal life. "What was your world like before your people began traveling to the stars?" Patricia asked. What did you dream about when you were young? What makes your people happy? Vexstar had never been asked these questions by anyone, including other Zephyrians. For the first time in decades, he found himself talking about his childhood, his hopes, and his fears. Patricia listened carefully to everything he said, asking more questions that showed she truly wanted to understand his people. Dr. Gary Lewis led a team of scientists who made the most important discovery of the entire war. Gary studied the history and culture of the Zephyrian Empire, using information that had been gathered during the conflict. What he found changed everything humans thought they knew about their enemies. They're not naturally aggressive, Gary explained to the peace negotiation team. The Zephyrians became conquerors because of something terrible that happened to their home world thousands of years ago. They've been trying to create safety through control ever since. Gary's research showed that the Zephyrian Empire had started as a response to a disaster that almost destroyed their entire species. They began conquering other worlds not because they enjoyed war, but because they were afraid of being destroyed by forces they could not control. They've been running from their fear for so long that they forgot what they were originally trying to protect, Gary continued. Every world they conquer makes them feel a little safer, but the fear never goes away. Captain Lauren Taylor commanded the human fleet during what became the final battle of the war. But Lauren had been given special orders from Admiral Sullivan. Instead of trying to destroy the retreating alien forces, Lauren was supposed to implement something called the Aurora Protocol. The Aurora Protocol was a display of human technology and culture that would show the aliens what humanity could offer as partners instead of enemies. Lauren's ships created a spectacular light show in space using their engines and weapons. At the same time, they broadcast music, art, scientific discoveries, and messages of friendship across all communication frequencies. We offer you partnership. Instead of conquest, Lauren's message said in the Zephyrian language, we offer creativity instead of destruction, growth instead of fear. Join us in exploring the universe together. The alien fleet stopped retreating and watched the human display. Many Zephyrian soldiers had never seen anything like it. Their culture had focused on military efficiency for so long that they had forgotten about art, music, and beauty. When Vexstar and Patricia met again to sign the peace agreement, both sides understood that something important had changed. The war had ended not because one side had defeated the other, but because both sides had learned something new about themselves and each other. Why did your people fight so hard? Vexstar asked Patricia. You could have surrendered and been allowed to live as part of our empire. Patricia smiled. Because surrender would have meant giving up who we are. Humans need to be free to make our own choices, even when those choices are difficult. We would rather risk everything than live as prisoners. And now? Vexstar asked. Now we choose to be friends, Patricia replied. We choose to work together to build something better than either of our peoples could create alone. The Terra Accords were signed on a space station halfway between Earth and the Zephyrian fleet. For the first time in their history, the Zephyrian Empire gained new members through friendship instead of conquest. Humanity became the first species to join the Empire as equals rather than subjects. Years later, when human and Zephyrian scientists worked together to explore new star systems, both species understood that the war had taught them something essential. The universe was too big and too wonderful to be conquered by any one species. It needed to be explored and understood through cooperation and friendship. The real reason the aliens could not conquer Earth was not human weapons or technology. It was the human belief that some things were worth fighting for, even against impossible odds. It was the human ability to see enemies as potential friends, and to choose hope over fear. Other civilizations in the galaxy heard about the war between humans and Zephyrians. They learned that conquest was not the only way for different species to meet each other. Soon, Many other worlds asked to join the human-Zephyrian coalition, attracted not by fear of military power, but by the promise of friendship and mutual growth. The galaxy would never be the same, and both humans and Zephyrians were happy about that. They had learned that the best victories came not from defeating enemies, but from turning enemies into friends.